Red Cloud Financial Services is your preeminent source for mining industry opportunities. The team provides a unique tailored marketing program dedicated to reaching the right people from its mining-focused global network, giving clients access to industry-leading events and conferences, retail and institutional marketing, plus an in-house growth-driven digital agency. Red Cloud Financial Services has access to some of the mining industry's most notable companies and CEOs. For more information, visit redcloudfs.com.
Good morning. Welcome to Digging Deeper. Today we're reaching out to Managing Director of Culpeo Minerals, Max Tuesley. This is an Australian-based company, but its projects, I think, believe 4 projects are in Chile. And of course, when we're talking Chile, I'm sure, as to my mind as well as yours, it's copper comes to mind. So we're going to get into it. We're going to look at the property, look at the infrastructure, the share structure, and what their hopes and milestones are for the few months ahead to end of the year and for next year. So welcome to the show, Max. How are you?
I'm great, Andrew. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's a real pleasure. People are really waking up to copper, not only kind of retail, but you see a lot of investment banks are kind of mentioning it, whether it's JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. Everyone seems to be waking up to the not only the demand, the basic supply demand, but how critical it is for this electric future. And I believe actually the US just added it to their critical metals list.
No, you're absolutely right. I saw that myself, Andrew, and I think that was, it was long overdue. And I think, as you mentioned, people are starting to pick up on the copper story. Really, going forward, there is going to be a big requirement to find additional copper sources around the world. I mean, you did mention Rio Tinto. They're out there actively, buying assets. They see the future in copper, and a lot of the gold mining companies are also starting to sort of add copper to their portfolio. So I think we're pretty excited about being in Chile, which is the world's #1 copper producer. It's also got the most copper reserves in the world as well, and we think it's a good place to be as a junior mining company. Exploring for moderate sized copper deposits, that have reasonable grade to go with the tonnage as well.
So tell me, we know most of us, our subscribers here, understand how incredible South America is for copper specifically. It will come to mind. Maybe walk us through what it's like to work in Chile, relationships there, just the overall kind of macro first, and we'll kind of laser down into the 4 different projects.
Yeah, look, I'm a geologist, obviously, by trade, and I've spent most of my career working in countries outside of Australia. I cut my teeth in Australia, but I have spent time in Southeast Asia, Central Asia, Africa, and I was very impressed when I landed in Chile. It is a mining country. The amount of infrastructure that's in place to enable some of these mines to operate in some of the remote areas like the Andes. It's amazing. The sealed highways, the power grid, the experienced mine workers, geologists, mining engineers, all of the things you need to be successful. When you're targeting copper and you're targeting mining, Chile certainly does, have all those things going for it.
So, tell me a little bit about. You touched on management before, but maybe there's a couple highlights, because whenever I talk to companies, we kind of look at the 3 critical things, like their ability to access cash, as well as the management team who's involved, and then of course the assets themselves, the projects themselves. If you've got that trifecta, then you've got a really good, strong landing point to go from, and then of course the gods of the drill bit will be the final say. But maybe you could kind of walk us through some of the other people on the team.
Yeah, look, as I mentioned, I'm a geologist. I've worked in lots of different places around the world. The other guys on the board, our chairman is he's he's come in from the financial side of things. He's a geologist also, but he spent a lot of time in New York. His name's Jeff McNamara, so he's got a lot of those financial connections that you speak of, and he understands what's required of that particular role within the organisation. We've also got another guy on the board, Zeph Reeves. Both him and Jeff are involved in another Chilean company called Tesoro Resources, who've had a lot of success. They've recently discovered a multi-million ounce gold deposit in Chile. So that's shaping up to be very, very exciting. They've got gold fields in there as a strategic partner. So that experience that those guys have gained in Chile has been extremely helpful for Culpeo Minerals. We've got a mining engineer on the board, Paul Schmid. He's got a lot of experience in Africa, so he's got that international experience as well, and he brings that mining engineer skill set to the board, which is extremely helpful, considering that quite a number of us are geologists. So it's nice to have that engineering point of view there available when we need it. And the other key member of the team is our country manager, Sergio Uribe. So he's a Chilean national, and he's got a lot of experience in Chile. He's got a lot of connections in Chile, and he's one of the main reasons that we've been able to sort of see some of these projects come across the table. We sort of get first dibs on some of this stuff that we have picked up, particularly with our focus on the coastal belt of Chile. We believe that that's underexplored and very, very prospective for these 100 million ton size ore bodies that are sort of 0.8 to 1% copper equivalent in grade. So Sergio's been a great asset to have on the ground in Chile.
And you've just announced not too long ago land adjacent to La Corina, who you had a very successful maiden drill program with that, and you're saying the drill results were ranging from 1.3, certainly above 0.81, and it's reasonably shallow as well.
Yeah, look, as I mentioned, we are focused on the coastal belt. We see a lot of opportunities there. The great thing about the coastal belt is it's low altitude. There's lots of infrastructure, sealed roads, power stations, qualified workforce, as I mentioned, water. You're not up in the Andes. You're not dealing with those high altitudes. You're not dealing with glaciers and things like that. You can drill all year round. The weather in the coastal belt is, it's great for field work and actually doing real geology in the field. So yeah, look, we've just announced the acquisition of Fortuna. Now this is a fantastic project. It's only 10 kilometers north of La Corina. It's in the same rock units. It's in the same sort of structural setting as La Corina. We're seeing mineralization, outcropping on the surface. At Fortuna, there's 4 different projects that have been sort of delineated from the historic data. One of those projects has got some very wide, high-grade surface sampling that has been done historically. 150 metre wide zone of sort of 1.31% copper equivalents, 100 metre wide zone at 1.25% copper equivalents at the Vaca Muerta property within the Fortuna project area. So that's just one example of sort of why we're pretty excited about Fortuna. We think we've got some walk-up drill targets there that never been drilled before, but have got those very wide intersections on the surface. So we're pretty excited to get the drill rig back there, and we probably will have the drill rig back there, in the end of the third quarter of this year.
Good. Maybe do some geochemical or anything. Are you doing any kind of work prior to moving the drill bit? Just kind of narrow down some of the targets?
Look, I think, at that particular project that I mentioned where we've got those wide channel samples on the surface, I think we're ready to go with the drilling there. It's
Excellent.
probably a little bit of work, to get the drill rig into the site, a little bit of access that would need to be fixed up. But geologically, that's ready to drill. There's another project there that's called Alki. Now that project is a little bit further north to that one where we've got the wide intercepts. That's had a little bit of historic mining in the underground part of the ore body. So that does need a little bit more work. We need to do a bit more mapping there. Probably do a bit more sampling, understand the geometry of what we know is already there before we bring the drill rig into that zone. And then the northern part of the project area is probably a little bit more green fields. We've got a very large surface copper anomaly there, but it certainly does need a bit more geochemical and geophysical work. So that's the great thing about this new project, is that it's got that sort of triangle of priorities, from the drill ready targets to targets that need a little bit more work, and it really, because it's so close to Lana Carina, gives us the ability to move the drill rig between Lana Carina and this new area.
Where are you guys sitting with the cash flow right now?
Yeah, look, we do need to raise a few more funds, and we're looking at our options at the moment. As you mentioned, I think people are picking up on the excitement in the copper market at the moment. So we've certainly been approached by quite a number of organisations who are pretty keen to assist us to top up the treasury prior to the drilling programs. And there's a lot of the discussions are very advanced at the moment. So we're feeling pretty confident about that, and that'll give us the opportunity to go back into Fortuna and drill these new targets. We've obviously got some work to do at Vista Montana, which we have spoken about publicly in the past. That's a pretty advanced exploration target just near Lana Carina. So we've got a lot of copper on the surface there. We've got a lot of geochemical and geophysical targets to follow up with drilling, outcropping, breccia and vein-hosted copper mineralization at Vista Montana, which is only a kilometre from Lana Carina. So, and obviously, you've seen the results coming back from the Lana Carina drilling. We've got a lot more work to do there to fully understand the size of that Lana Carina discovery.
Yeah, also just some of the photos like on the presentation. I mean, they're pretty fantastic. It looks amazing. And certainly it's a great name to, hopefully it has some sort of relation to the Ecuador Fortuna property. Hopefully there's some sort of relation there.
Yeah, well, Andrew, as you mentioned, the projects are nearby each other. We've got a bitumen road that basically connects the projects together. So, going forward, when we start to progressing to that resource estimation stage of the project cycle, I think you'll see there's a lot of synergies between the projects and the proximity to each other. I think that's very positive from our point of view.
Now, there's one last thing I wanted to touch on. And I always like when people include this in their deck, and you guys have this in your deck, is you put a peer comparison. And, this, I think, especially, well, for anyone, quite frankly, whether you're new to mining or not, is people like to be able to say, well, who's near you? How are they doing? What's their market cap like? If you keep on putting the work in, hitting milestones and adding value, where can this go? So having that peer comparison that you see up here right now, maybe you can kind of tell us a little bit about some of the neighbors and some of the companies here, just so people can get a bit of a sense of where this could go.
This coastal belt of Chile, there is some very sizable ore bodies quite nearby. Teck have a project about 100 kilometres to the north called Andacollo. Now that's an extremely large, high-grade copper deposit. That's been a very successful operation for Teck. Obviously Teck are a big mining company, but so that's the sort of ore body that is available to be discovered in this coastal belt. That's about 300 million tonne at over 1% copper. But in Chile, you've got other companies operating. You've got an ASX listed company called Hot Chile. They've done very well. They've got a very nice, large, reasonable grade copper project, in the coastal belt as well. So, they're one of the comparisons that we do compare against. And obviously they've got a market cap of, quite a lot more than Culpeo. So, we think Culpeo is undervalued, and, I think with a bit more drilling success and people picking up on the fact that we are expanding our footprint, in the coastal belt, I think people will start to take notice, and we'll see a re-rating of that share price at some point.
Well, like I said, right now, mining stocks are attractive for a lot of different reasons. It's just, and I look at part of my job is getting the news out to people. It is a tough market out there. I'm not, not fooling myself by any stretch of the imagination, but whenever people put everything together of what's required and what's needed and how much copper is needed, not only just for infrastructure that people have projects across the planet, but for this entire battery electric future, it's incredible. And I think once people really put it all together, they're going to look for strong projects in the right jurisdictions. Maybe you could kind of sum us all up and tell us about what makes Culpeo like a really attractive company for someone, especially in Canada. Why they should be paying attention and looking at some of the milestones that you guys hope to hit in the next 6 months.
Yeah, look, Culpeo, we've got a good story. We're focused on Chile, which, as we mentioned, is the #1 copper producer. Great place to explore. We're focused on the coastal belt of Chile, which is underexplored and does host, those medium-sized ore bodies, which is what we're after. We're after the sort of 100 million tonne at 0.8 to 1% copper. A project that, given the proximity to infrastructure, is something that a junior company, can explore, can develop, and can take into production. We're not going up into the Andes looking for the big low-grade porphyry deposits. That we leave that for the majors. And as I mentioned, we're undervalued. We run lean and mean. We don't have any major overheads. And all of the money that we spend basically goes into the ground. Predominantly drilling programs, but also other sort of value adding geological work like geochemical surveys and geophysics. So we really are aiming to expand that footprint that we've already sort of started on with Lana Carina. And I think, people will start to pick up on the drill results going forward, and there will be a lot of drilling going forward.
Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to seeing some results. We wish you the best of luck and really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us.
No, thank you very much, Andrew, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks.
Take care.